back to Inside the Hoop. This is episode 3. Today we're going to be discussing the end-of-season recap for both the men's and women's Tennessee Tech basketball teams. So yesterday, Adam, the Tennessee Tech men's, that season came to an end, right? Lost to Lindenwood, got the 5th seed in the tournament, finished 15-16 overall, 10-10 in the conference, right at 500. Kind of take us through what you kind of saw from the Tennessee Tech men's basketball team throughout this year and kind of just a season recap in general.
So obviously, finishing mid in the conference, not the best, but nothing to hate on. We're sitting at the 5th seed heading into the OVC tournament. I think for the men's team, it was a lot of struggling to maintain success.
Yeah.
There were spots in the season where we played good and we played really nice basketball, but we just couldn't hold on to it. And it was just a problem of not being able to keep momentum heading into certain games, dropping games that we really shouldn't have dropped. It's hard to say that the men's team should have finished where they did, but they could have finished higher, certainly. It's just about why did they not finish higher.
Yeah, I agree. Just throughout the season, it kind of felt like when they had some momentum and they were starting to play a little bit better and look like a better team overall, they would lose that momentum. Like you said, drop one they're not supposed to drop. But overall, I mean, you're in the tournament, right? You're in the OVC tournament. Yeah. You got a bid to that, so that's good.
Got to be happy about that.
You're happy about that, of course. You're happy that you're still fighting. You still have a chance to do some damage in the tournament. Personally, I don't like the draw that they got in the tournament. I don't. Now, I know it's the 8th seed. I know we've beat UT Martin twice. We've had to go into overtime with them twice.
But those were close wins.
Close, like extremely close wins. And to me, I just know from sports in general, it's hard to beat a team twice, let alone beat a team 3 times in one season.
Yeah, no, this isn't going to be like a 4 sweep in the finals. These are tough games. We are not better than this team enough to constantly go out there and beat them consistently.
Yeah.
It is going to be a good game, that's for sure. Yeah. That's something that we can always count on between these two teams. It's just, will we be able to overcome them a third time in such a tight battle? I mean, in-state rivals, it's hard to do that.
Yeah, no, and they are our rivals, so there's a little bit extra on this game. You know what I mean? There's just more on the line. There's more at stake. So UT Martin's going to have a little bit more for Tech this time because they've already gotten beat by Tech twice in overtime, and like you said, in-state rivals and all that. But I don't know. Hopefully they can just roll right through them and they can continue, throughout the tournament. But I don't like the draw in the round 1 tournament for them.
Especially with it being round 1, playing a team it's gonna basically take everything out of us just to beat them. It's gonna take a lot, and you don't want to get drained too fast. This team has struggled to maintain success throughout the season. They haven't had, massive win streaks like the women's team has.
Yes.
It's, maybe we get this first game, but heading into that second round, are we going to be able to maintain our momentum?
That's a good point that you brought up, too, because with them not getting that first round bye, with the 4th seed, now they're the 5th seed, they have to play Wednesday. If they win, they got to play Thursday. If they win that game, they got to play Friday. So they're liable to play. If they were to somehow make it to the championship, they're going to have to play 4 games in 4 days.
Yeah,
that's going to be tough.
That is tough.
That's tough on anybody. I mean, it's just fatigue starts to set in, injuries potentially, hopefully not, but potentially start to set in, and it's just it's hard to keep playing basketball that many days in a row and have that much success. But it is an uphill battle, and Tech kind of put themselves in that situation. But like I said, you're still in the fight.
Yeah. That's the most important thing. We could be like a team that we recently lost to, which was Western Illinois. They're out of the tournament. Mm-hmm. Sure, they get a win over us, but it didn't affect our seeding. I mean, we lost the opportunity to get into the 4th seed and get that first round bye, but we're not out of the tournament like they are. We're still in it, and that's the most important thing for this team to focus on. I think that heading into a tournament like this, being the 5th seed, knowing that you might have to play 4 straight days of basketball, that can be draining. That can be, it can mess with the mind. And it's important for these players to have the right mindset. But throughout the season, have they had the right mindset? Is that why we've dropped a few games here and there? Is that why we're sitting, at 10-10 in conference play? It's all going to come down to, can they lock in for this tournament setting, and are they ready for this?
Yeah, I think Tennessee Tech is going to have to find their identity on offense and stick to it. If they're a shooting team, then stick to that, right?
Yeah.
If they're going to be a team that tries to wear you down inside, stick to that. To me, their identity is behind the three-point line because they have guards that can shoot like Matthew Sells, Kyle Layton, Jaylon Johnson, of course, and other guys. Ray Glasgow, even when he comes off the bench, he can provide some three-point shooting for you as well. They've got a lot of different guys that can shoot the ball. Rodney Johnson Jr. is a forward, can shoot the ball as well. So to me, you need to find that identity on offense and kind of stick to that. Jawan Nichols has really emerged as the 5 in this team and as the inside scorer. If you need a bucket down low, that's the guy to go to, right?
Yeah, and we did see him struggle against Western Illinois down low. I think Tech needs to not stick to their brand of basketball, but they need to counter other teams' style of basketball. You know, throughout the season, we've seen them try to play different ways. We've seen them play a lot of small ball. We've seen them try to shoot threes. They struggle percentage-wise. You know, we've seen them have their off nights. We've seen them play not the best defense in the world. You know, it's nothing to be proud of, but it's not, you know, embarrassing. This team just needs to look at the team that they're going to play and counter that matchup. They need to say, this team plays big. Maybe we should try sticking to the outside. Maybe, you know, don't get in the paint with them. Why would we try to drive on a team that's got a, you know, big center? We just don't have the size or the physicality to do that.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like you've mentioned with Jawan Nichols, he is an inside scorer who did struggle against Western Illinois. He was able to do a little bit of damage against Lindenwood yesterday. However, we still wound up dropping that one, you know, in the long run. So it's just kind of a finding that balance, but still sticking to your identity on offense, I think is going to be important for the tournament. And like you said, just if one guy is doing all the damage, find a counter to that, right? You know what I mean? Do whatever you got to do. They could have had that 4th seed, but they dropped 2 late in the year, which really hurt them, and it dropped them to the 5th seed. I'm not saying all hope is lost. I don't want this to be a gloom and doom podcast. Like we keep saying, Tech is still in the they're in the dance.
Absolutely. I mean, they've got it. They're there and they can do it.
Yeah.
It's just hard when you've dropped those last 2 games of the season. It kind of hurts the mindset.
They'll definitely have to reshift focus, and I think they will. You know, I know one guy that'll be ready, and that's Jaylon Johnson. We got the opportunity to catch up with him for Thursday night's game, and we'll actually throw a clip of that on the podcast screen right now in 3, 2, 1.
So we know tough night shooting-wise, efficiency-wise. You played great, but did Western Illinois come out differently than y'all expected defensively-wise?
Honestly, no, because we knew it was their last game playing of the season, so we knew we was gonna get everything they got. When you're a senior, you're gonna play hard for your last game. And credit to number 5, he killed us. And number 2, he killed us as well. We didn't prepare as good as we thought we did, but you know it's on to the next, and we just got to prepare for Saturday.
All right, first of all, Jaylon, great game from you tonight. With the loss tonight, how much does this put an exclamation on Saturday's game as a must-win game to get that improved seeding into the OVC tournament?
We just got to come harder than we did before. You know, the next game really means a lot, even though it's our senior night as well. So we got to play harder than what we did tonight. We got to come up with the energy because after that game, it's a tournament. You know, it's win to go home. So we got to give it our best shot because we don't know when it's going to be our last practice.
Appreciate it, Jaylon.
And we're back. So Jaylon Johnson, I mean, he's just a class act, right? He's just a good guy. He was really polite with us and was just understanding. But you could tell even after the loss Thursday night, he was locked in.
Yeah.
He was refocused immediately.
Yeah.
So that's that's a good thing. And I hope the whole team adopts that mentality as well.
Yeah, it's about getting all these guys on the same page. We see it a lot with the women's team. They are all on the same page, and that's why they're sitting at number 1 in conference play.
Yeah.
This team needs to lock in, and they need to all get on the same mindset, which I think that's been one of their main problems this year. They're a little disorganized, and they're going to have to focus up, and they're going to have to get on the same page, or else this is going to be another year where we're bounced out in the first round.
Yeah, and you kind of want to change that narrative around that and make some noise because the girls are definitely making noise.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they just won the OVC regular season championship.
Outright.
They won a share of it Thursday night, and then they went ahead and beat Lindenwood to just leave no doubt. They won the whole thing outright. It was really cool to see that celebration, and obviously the first seed in the tournament, which is huge. You have the best and easiest path out of all the conference teams in the OVC tournament now. That's really fun. That's good. It was a dominant performance, really, yesterday against Lindenwood, who was a great basketball team.
Yeah, I mean, they're second in the conference for a reason.
Yeah.
And this team played well, and they dominated.
They did.
It's impressive to see, and it's good to see. It's good foreshadowing for this team. I don't want to, jinx us. I don't want to say, we've got this in the bag, because no team has this in the bag.
Yeah.
But if I had to put money on it, and I'm not a gambling man, but I would put it on Tech.
Yeah, I would too, just because I've watched this team the entire season, and they play together. We've said it a bunch of times. They play together, and they play so well together. They've got so many different players that can score the basketball. That's their forte, and they've got a good defense, in my opinion. They've got some scrappy players on their team, some different guards and different forwards that are really scrappy, and they hustle really well. I think Chloe Larry's one that just comes to mind immediately. She hustles, and her effort on the court is relentless.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we saw it against Western Illinois. She had 7 boards for us, even though she only dropped 3 points.
Yeah.
This team, I think one of their biggest advantages is that they don't have a lot of ego. They play together. They know if it's not my night, I'm just going to try to be a role player.
Yeah.
They don't have an identity, not in the sense of this is our best player, this is our second option, this is our role player. They're all good. They're all role players. Each one of them, honestly, could lead their own team.
Yeah.
I mean, realistically, all of them could. They're all playing extremely well. It's just, if this player gets attention, we'll swing it around, get it to this player. If Peyton Carter's hitting threes, and they start double teaming her early, swing it down low to Anna Walker.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's really cool to have so many different players. Like you said, if they were playing elsewhere in this league, would be the leading scorer for that team, no doubt. I think Reagan Grimes is in that conversation. I think Peyton Carter could do the same. Even Chloe Larry as a freshman, Anna Walker. I think all those girls, if they were at different teams, they could go somewhere and lead them. They lead that team in scoring. And Keely Carter's another one too that can knock them down too.
Oh, yeah.
But we've got them all on our team. And don't count out Tara Thornton. I'm telling you, she started yesterday against Lindenwood, a senior night, and she played great. I mean, she had 3 steals, I think, or maybe 4, and 3 blocks. I mean, she was everywhere. She was making life really hard for the Lindenwood guards and anybody who she was guarding. She was making life really hard for them, and she was making a lot of big plays, a lot of fast break plays. So to me, she's like the X factor on this team. You don't really don't know her name as much as you do the other 4 or 5, but she comes off the bench and she immediately provides a spark.
Yeah, no, she plays just as well as the rest of them, and I think that's one of Tech's biggest advantages. They play a small lineup, usually about 7 people a night. The 2 off the bench, maybe one gets 5 minutes and the other might play closer to 15. But they play a tournament-style lineup, and each player on this team can have a dominant performance. We don't have to rely on one person scoring. We don't have to rely on a single defender. This team is small, close together, and each of them can play, and they can play well.
Yeah, they're so well coached. And I think I've probably said that 40 times over the course of our 3 episodes of the podcast, but they're so well coached, in my opinion.
You have to. I mean, Kim Roseman, great coach.
Oh, yeah, all the credit in the world to Kim Roseman and the entire staff. I mean, she's had success at Tech throughout her career.
Yeah.
This is not her first rodeo as far as being, a dominant force in the OVC. And I really believe if Tech is able to win the OVC tournament championship, which I think they can.
Yeah.
If anybody's going to do it, I think Tennessee Tech can. And hopefully win that convincingly so that the committee, the March Madness committee on March 16th says Tennessee Tech deserves to be in the dance, right, and come tournament time.
Wouldn't that be a surprise for us? I mean,
that'd be fun.
I think, we love doing this podcast. We would be ecstatic if we got to watch some March Madness.
Yeah, I know, and I hope the podcast episodes don't come to an end here pretty soon. But the tournament, OVC tournament, is going to be this week. It's going to start Wednesday. It'll be over by Saturday. The girls and the guys kind of have 2 different situations upon. You know what I'm saying? They kind of have 2 different situations that they're dealing with. The guys kind of have an uphill battle. The girls, they have a target on their back, right? All the teams in the conference are like, we're going to take after, we're looking at the Golden Eagles as the one we want to play and the team that we want to beat.
Yeah, that gives a lot of motivation to other teams. You see a team like Tech, you're like, they think they're all that, and you want to take them down. For the men, they're middle of the pack. I mean, it's a dogfight down there, and they're going to have to fight hard to get up, higher into the tournament.
Yeah, if they were to win against UT Martin, they will play Little Rock the very next day. So it's just an uphill battle. When you beat UT Martin, after that, everybody above, the games from then on out are going to be tougher and tougher and tougher because those teams are ranked higher than you. They've got a better record than you, and they probably have beaten you at one point in time during the season. So.
Yeah, and it's always going to get tougher. And one thing that we can say about not getting a first-round bye or a second-round bye is you do get to be there, and you do get more warm-up, and you do get more in-game experience playing in that setting. It's tough physically. Physically, you don't want to play that many games in a row.
Yeah.
Mentally, you're getting mental reps out there. I mean, you're playing ball, and that'll help, certainly, especially, when competition keeps increasing, the team's going to be ready for tougher competition because they just played tough competition. So those are some of the things to look forward to and some of those things to be hopeful for, but they're going to have to fight.
Yeah, and, I mean, maybe that'll benefit the Tech men's team.
Yeah.
Maybe that'll benefit them playing multiple games in a row, but I'm sure if you ask Coach Pelfrey, game one, UT Martin, that's the task at hand, right? You don't want to look ahead. You don't want to look ahead to any games in the future, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, until you've beaten UT Martin.
Yeah.
That's the goal, and that's the goal in mind. That's the task at hand right now for Tech. And like I said, I do think it'll be a tough matchup because of just the situation. But the game, they have to play us too. They got to play Tech too, and so I'm excited for that matchup. I think it's going to be a good game, like you said. I think the rivalry will amplify that game that much more. But as far as going back to the girls' side of things, I mean, there's so much senior leadership on that team, which is why I think they've been able to be so successful and be so consistent. So if you're banking on that, you're banking on the consistency of this team, they can and hopefully they will win the OVC title when it's all said and done because of that senior leadership.
Yeah, that's something that we're going to have to be wary of for next year. Obviously, we don't want to get ahead of ourselves and think about next year too quick, but we are losing a lot of players, and that's tough.
Yes, and another thing that I want to bring up is Reagan Hurst did recently announce that she is coming back for next year, which is huge. I mean, that's huge. She was a great player before the injury, and then obviously she had a medically redshirt this year. It's a whole other topic idea. It's a whole other podcast episode, but can you imagine how good this team would be if Reagan Hurst was added into this lineup and was fully healthy?
Oh, man.
Goodness gracious. That'd be a sight to see.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, she wasn't, but she gets to come back next year. Maybe that's for the best. You know what I mean? Maybe she can kind of be the leading voice and have a bigger role on the team this upcoming season for her last year. So that's encouraging that she's coming back and that she announced that after the win against Lindenwood.
Yeah. It's great to see a player like that coming back. It gives the team hope.
Mm-hmm.
You say we're losing some girls here, but we're getting some back. And I think next year will be more interesting for sure. This year we dominated.
Yeah.
And as much as I love watching this team dominate, it's not as interesting. We know that we're the favorite.
Yeah.
We know that, the crown's on our head. Next year, this team's going to have a new identity. Next year, a lot of things are going to change, and it's going to be fun getting to learn what next year's team is going to be all about.
I agree. And with the way the transfer portal is nowadays for both the men's and women's teams, who knows what the roster is going to look like on either side.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I mean, we've seen a lot of transfer portal additions work out well for both those teams this year.
Yeah.
Keely Carter on the girls' side, that turned out to be a perfect marriage.
Yeah.
On the men's side of things, Jaylon Johnson he was a transfer guy. Matthew Sells, another one. So just Tech has really benefited from the transfer portal, I think. I mean, they've lost some guys and girls too, but overall I think they've benefited from the transfer portal. And it'll be interesting to see how both coaches attack this offseason to get new players in to kind of restock.
Yeah. And for the coaches, Kim Roseman on top of the hill. John Pelfrey, he's got an uphill battle.
For sure. He's a good coach. We're not saying that, but it's just he doesn't have the resume that Kim Roseman does, and it's as simple as that. And it's not, there's no rhyme or reason why. That's just the fact of the matter. But I am confident that he'll assemble a good roster for the future, like he did this year. I mean, there was a pretty good. He lost some guys in the portal, and it kind of it looked like it was going to hurt Tech pretty badly, but he was able to add in a couple guys in the portal like Jaylon Johnson to really turn the season around and to get what you can out of this year, basically.
Yeah. And I think Tech did that. Still being in the tournament, sitting at the 5th seed. We could have played better for sure, and we had guys that could have, stepped up in a big way. But this team's had issues. We had like the Rodney Johnson Jr. injury. That was tough. We had Jawan Nichols coming into the lineup and asserting himself as a good player.
Right.
This team's had a lot of ups and downs, and right now we're going to see if this team can go up or if they're going to crash down.
Yeah. That'll be interesting to watch. I'm interested to see how, obviously, the tournament unfolds, but we're kind of jumping back, around in this podcast a little bit more, which is okay. That's not a bad thing. But we did mention that we got to go to the Western Illinois game on Thursday night, and we got the opportunity to talk to a couple players. I want to put in some of these quotes by Anna Walker because we were able to catch up with her after the Western Illinois win. Spirits were high. They just won a share of the OVC title, so it was really fun to get to talk to her. She was really polite. What I asked her was, what are a couple things in your game that you really pride yourself on? I kind of thought she was going to say like rebounding and defense and the fundamental stuff. She said, I would say my shooting. That makes me a little bit different from all the other 5 players that we see as far as like centers. She's talking about like the 5s that you see around the conference. They usually can't shoot the ball as good as she can. She wasn't being cocky. That's just a fact.
Yeah.
So she said, that's one big thing that I would bring to the team, but also my leadership. I've tried to improve on that a lot this year and just being a voice for the team when we need it. And that's what we've been preaching on the whole year, right? The senior leadership of this team is through the roof, and it's not just her. It's Peyton Carter. It's Keely Carter, even though she's a transfer player. I'm sure she's a good voice in that locker room. Reagan Grimes is a junior. She's a leader on and off the court. So just things like that, little things like that. I was really impressed with her answer on that. And then I also asked her, what is Coach Roseman's message to the team heading into the tournament? And she said, every single week of the OVC season, we've talked about going 2-0. So just going 2-0 on the week, winning both games, and then taking it from there. You know what I mean? One step at a time. And I agree with that 100%.
Yeah, no, don't get ahead of yourself. You gotta play each game as if it's important.
Right. Yeah. You focus on the task at hand, and then you move on from there. She said. So I would say that's one big thing that we need to look at next week. So OVC tournament is win or go home. So we're excited for that one, is what she said, and you should be. I mean, you. Before, at the time of us interviewing her, they hadn't clinched the number 1 seed just yet, and they hadn't clinched the outright title just yet.
Yeah.
So they were able to do that, and now spirits are high, right? You're excited for the tournament. Obviously, that's why you play the game.
Yeah. No, that's being a regular season champion. Great feeling. It means a lot. Trust me, it does. But you want that championship. You want the OVC championship.
Right.
Regular season champion, that's something nice to have on the resume.
It is.
But that trophy, that's more important.
I've always liked the tournament championships better. If I'm a fan of a team, I would rather them win the tournament than I would the regular season.
Yeah.
Either way, you're getting a banner, which is nice. That's going to look nice at the hoop. 2024, 25 regular season OVC champions. That's going to look nice. But a regular season champion next to a tournament championship, that would be even nicer.
Oh yeah.
And that's probably the mindset of this entire team.
It'd be so sweet to see.
Yeah.
I mean, hopefully we get to go to a few more games next year. Hopefully we'll still be doing this next year. But that would be great to see. I mean, we'd have to get photos of that.
That'd be fun. Yeah, I agree. You also got to catch up to her and ask her a couple questions. Kind of take us through what she said with that.
Yeah, I asked her at the time about how she felt about clinching her share of the OVC championship.
Right.
And she told me it's great. I mean, we don't like to focus on outcomes. I know this year we've really just talked about the process, and there's nothing else I'd rather do the process with every single day. But we've worked for this, and so I think we deserve it. And they do deserve it.
100%.
They have worked so hard, and you can tell by the way this team plays that they work hard.
Yeah.
I mean, I think one of the biggest things that you can tell about this team, just by looking at the box score or the box stats,
Yeah.
the minutes they play, each starter, they're playing about 30-something minutes a game. This has to be one of the most well-conditioned teams in all of basketball.
Yeah, I
mean,
agree.
It's crazy, and they work so hard, and they do it together, and that's one of the things that she touched on. When I asked her at the time about winning 14 straight games, now 15, she said that we don't really focus on our record. We don't focus on wins and losses. We just focus on the process. But when you get to go out there and play with your friends every single day, and we're all competing and we all want the same goal, it makes it easy. So I think her answer really speaks about the chemistry that this team has. She described them as friends, not teammates, but friends.
Yeah. No, I agree. I didn't mean to interrupt you right
No,
there,
that's
but
all right.
I was just going to say I agree. She talked a lot about the process, which
Yeah.
I'm sure is something that Kim Roseman has really preached to this team. You got to love the process too, right? You love the wins and losses, or no, you don't love the losses. I didn't mean to say that.
We love losses.
You love to win and you love the championships that you get along the process, but you also have to love the practices, the workouts, the team meetings. You have to love the little stuff that will get you to that championship level, and this team has just really embraced that.
They, when they talk about the process, obviously they're not talking about, players. They're talking about going through the season, racking up wins, playing well, and gathering, getting their team chemistry, getting on the same page. And that's what this team is. They are on the same page. That's one of the things that we talked about, compare and contrast them from the men's team. I think it speaks a lot about where they sit in the OVC standings. Women's team on the same page, and they're sitting at the top. I think the men's team is just as talented, except they do need to get on the same page, and they need to start playing a more, team-style basketball. They need to, determine what their roles are going to be. They need to go, okay, if this guy can't do it tonight, I'm going to step up and do it. It doesn't need to be about stats or egos, or it doesn't need to be about any of that. It just needs to be about winning the next game.
I agree with you. I do think the men's team does have more potential than what they've shown this year, and I think if things go the right way, I think they could make a lot of noise in that OVC tournament.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting to see. But overall, we got to, like I said, interview these players in Thursday night's game. That was really fun.
Oh yeah,
You know
it
what
was
I
a
mean?
great
So
honor.
just shout out to Anna Walker and Jaylon Johnson. They were both really polite, and we just thank them for letting us do that and for taking the time to talk to us for a minute.
Yeah.
And a big thank you to the TTU Sports information staff, Mike Lehman and Thomas Cohorn. They really helped us out as far as getting us the players and getting us courtside seats. It was just a really cool experience for us, and we're just really grateful for that opportunity as a whole.
Yeah, I mean, to sit courtside at the press table for a D1 basketball game was an unreal experience.
Yeah.
It is something that, I am so grateful to have the opportunity for, and I want to thank this university. I want to thank Tech for giving me that opportunity. When I started this semester, I had no idea that it would end up here, and it wouldn't have ended up here without this podcast and the Oracle and every member of, Tennessee Athletics Department helping us out along the way.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed doing this podcast so far. I know we're only 3 episodes in, and we kind of threw it together late as something that was just kind of an idea and that just popped into my head, and we just kind of threw it together. But it's been really fun. I've really wanted it to do well. I've wanted it to succeed. So I've had a lot of fun covering the men's and women's teams as well. And I hope we can do this time next year, and hopefully we continue to have success on the court. So that way we can keep doing these podcast episodes and keep dragging it out.
Yeah, it wouldn't make for a great podcast if both teams were sitting at the bottom of the standings.
I know it. Then we'd have nothing to talk about.
Yeah, we'd be a miserable bunch in here.
Yeah, I agree. But as far as today's episode, that's all the time we have for you today. Thank you so much for tuning in to Inside the Hoop, Episode 3. We'll have a recap of the OVC tournament next Monday, hopefully, and we'll see you in the next episode.